So anyway. But we are here to talk about safety, and it is absolutely my passion. It's all I do. My wife and I work together. My wife is Dr. Deb. If I mention Dr. Deb, that's my wife. She's a PhD. She's a researcher. She's not an MD. So, I tell people all the time, if you're hurting, don't talk to her, okay? Because she's Nurse Frightingale. She's not, she wouldn't make a good nurse or an MD. But she's a wonderful researcher. So what we do is... We spend a lot of time researching, and the things I'm going to share with you, and I got a short amount of time to share a few things with you. I hope when I walk away from here, you'll have a little bit different paradigm on safety and what that means, both at work, at home, at play, because my company's goal, is to prevent every workplace injury. That's it. That's our goal. That's what we work towards. We get up and we look at the research. I blog, and when I'm blogging on my safetytopics.com, I put that blog out there. The intent is to maybe have that one person that reads that and it makes them think about something that will absolutely change their behavior, so that they get to go home at the end of the day without injury. Because that's the whole goal, isn't it? So I want to talk to you about that. I'm just going to give you a few thoughts. Nothing mind-blowing here. And you will see, I try to keep things simple. I'm just an old country boy, so I try to keep things simple. Looking at this, and I'll try to get the clicker. There we go. Interesting thing, each of us does something every day. We decide. And you guys are choosing safety, right? That's what you talked about. And I got to see this choice with my kids. I got kids that are twins. I got two of them, a girl and a boy, Paul and Nona. And when they were about 6 years old, something funny happened. My wife, the PhD, she actually wasn't a PhD at that point. She was working on her MBA at that time. And she decided that my daughter needed some manners. My daughter, who has now given me a wonderful granddaughter, a beautiful granddaughter, was a beautiful girl. She was a wonderful, beautiful child. But when she sat down to eat, she is a pig. She would get it all over. Well, her daughter is just like her. You take her, and she's just smiling. She's just got stuff. If you're having spaghetti, it's obvious. It's everywhere. But the son now, everything went in his mouth. He was good. Everything was great. But my wife said, this girl's going to need some manners or she'll never get a second date. Okay, that was her whole idea behind that. And we got to teach her some manners. So my wife says, we're going to have manners. We're going to play a manners game tonight. And so she sat down. She set the 4 places for dinner. And she set a plate in the center of the table, and at each one of our tables she set a little saucer, and she put 10 pennies in each one of those saucers. And what would happen was, if you were caught doing something wrong, you lost a penny to the center saucer. Okay, so pretty quick I lost a penny or two. Elbows on the table, something. Pretty soon my son, he lost 1 or 2. Mom even lost a couple, but the daughter was doing it right. She was motivated. She would stick, she would stick the food, put it in her mouth, and she was watching everybody else because she was catching everybody. She was playing the game. Okay. My son, I don't know, somebody caught him doing something, and he picks up his remaining pennies on that plate, dumps them in the center, sets it down, and announced, I'll now eat the way I want to eat. Game over. And my wife looked at me like, do something. And I'm like, you started this game. You did something about it. But he made a decision that day. Everybody makes a decision. You'll see it this winter. We're coming up on wintertime. Believe it or not, here pretty soon we're all going to be wondering where all that warm weather went. And I know out here you have the markers. In Oklahoma, we don't have those markers next to the hydrants, that mark for snow, for high snow, so that the plow doesn't run over the hydrant. We don't have those in Oklahoma. When I travel all over the United States and Canada speaking and doing training, workshops and seminars, and the funny part of it is I can tell how much snow they get by those markers. how high the markers are. Up in places in Colorado, I go up by Hayden, up by Steamboat. You'll go up there and those things are 20 foot high, But the thing about it is you'll see people driving down the highway and they'll be driving through a little bitty hole in the windshield. You know what I'm saying? They won't take the time and choose to go out and defrost their windows ahead of time, and they'll be driving through that. There'll be people reading on their way to work. I mean, they'll actually lay newspapers. Those are choices. Now we have, people texting, and we're trying to tell people, don't text. And I think if we had everybody admit, I'm not going to ask you for a show of hands, but I want you to, in your head, I want you to think about it. So no hands, okay? How many of you actually text and drive? Think about it. It's really hard to say no when that thing's buzzing. You're sitting there going, but it might be important. Because we were brought up with the habit of answering the phone. How many of you would agree with that? And that's part of it. And that's our habit. That's our habit. And so this new technology that comes along, it's easy for us to communicate. It's easy for us to get honed in on this. As a pilot, one of the things that I have to teach students is don't get your head down in the cockpit. If you get your head down in the cockpit, too much technology, people have flown, literally, controlled flight into terrain is actually one of the things we teach. And people will actually fly into the ground and just probably look up just in time to go, oops, and that's it. And it's because they got their head down and they're not looking out the window. So, it's one of the things that we look. People decide. So that's just something to think about. And you guys make that decision today, what you're going to do. You get ready you go home, guys, at night. Your wife says, hey, we need to change the light bulb in the kitchen. And what do you reach for? Kitchen chair. We're all guilty of that. First time I did that, my wife said, what are you doing? You're the safety guy, And I'm like, shut up. Come on. We're flying, and she'll say something to me, and I want to go, what, are you a pilot now?